Okay, so this is part two of my not brief, account of Alexander's life. The video just stopped at about 20 or so minutes, so I'm just carrying on now. So try not to be 20 minutes again. So Liz, for you and for anyone else still watching. So Alexander crossed the Hindu Kush in pursuit of Bessus, who had proclaimed himself great king. Artaxerxes IV, I think it was his title was, regnal name. He went into Bactria, Sogdia, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, I think, and he spent 2 years there. Bessus was caught soon enough, but then afterwards he remained to try and subdue the local population. Wasn't easy, especially since they were being led by a Persian commander named Spithridates. So that region, then as much as now, not welcoming to any foreigner trying to overcome them. However, Alexander just about managed it. He was greatly helped when Spithridates' men betrayed him because they saw that they were running out of places to run away to. So he was gone. And then at the end of the time he was there, 327, I think, Alexander married a local princess, Roxana, who's the daughter of a local nobleman. Maybe he did this to try and cement ties with the region. Maybe. He then moved on to India and fought his last major battle at the river Hydaspes against the Indian king Porus. The Hydaspes today is called the Jhelum River, I believe it is. It was a much more complicated battle to win than the battles he had hitherto fought. There, Granicus Issus Galgamela, it was a case of turn up, get your men in the right order, and go. At Hydaspes, it was several days before he was able to do anything, so it demanded a lot of preparation. The weather was against him as well, a lot of rain for the monsoon season. However, he prevailed. Porus survived, and Alexander gave his kingdom back to him and extra land because he was now an ally. He then carried on east for a little bit longer, coming to the river, what is now the Beas, but then was called the Hyphasis River. Now, this is in modern-day Pakistan. So there, the men said, we're too tired, we can't continue, we have to stop. Alexander didn't want to, but with his men saying, we can't carry on, eventually he had to give way. So he went south, down the Indus River, into the sea. He went out into the sea at one point, sacrificed to Poseidon, whoever else there, came back, and then he went west across a desert, the Gedrosian desert, where his men suffered very harshly. Not his whole army were there. One of his commanders, Craterus, was leading a bunch of them through an inland route, the men who were due for retirement. He somehow made it across the Gedrosian desert. The reason he crossed it is that he wanted to emulate his great hero, Cyrus the Great, and the legendary Semiramis, who I think was a Persian queen. I need to check that. They managed to cross it, but they lost almost all their armies in doing so. Alexander lost a lot of men as well, but everyone else got through. They got to a province called Carmania, where he was met by satraps who gave him food and drink. They went back up north to, eventually to Ecbatana, pardon me, where Alexander's great friend, possible lover, Hephaestion died, which he grieved, well, enormously doesn't do it justice. He grieved in true Homeric sense. Not surprising, because he possibly identified himself with Achilles, which would mean that Hephaestion became Patroclus. And if you know the Iliad, you know how close those two were. In the Iliad, they're not lovers, but by the 4th century BC, Alexander's time, they were believed to be. So, Hephaestion died, Alexander took his body back to Babylon, where he built him a huge pyre, which he possibly set fire to in the weeks leading up to his death. Some people think the pyre wasn't built but I have read that archaeologists did find one of the walls of the city removed, and Alexander was said to have used one of the walls to build this huge pyre. So Alexander planned to invade Arabia. He wanted to invade Arabia. He probably wanted to carry on further west to the Pillar of Hercules, right at the tip of the Mediterranean. And then I imagine he would have gone into Europe, Spain, Italy, the rest, and he would have taken it all. The Roman army was far away still from becoming what it would later on become, the successor to the Hellenistic empires. However, this never happened. Just before he was due to leave Babylon, Alexander, at the end of May 323, went to a party at his friend Medius's quarters, drank a lot of wine, fell ill, never recovered, got progressively worse over the course of a week or 10ish days, and finally he died. According to one account, his last words were, in response to the question, "Who are you leaving your empire to? To the strongest or to Craterus?" Not quite sure because of the Greek. Alexander didn't have any children. He possibly lost a son when Roxana miscarried in India. However, she was pregnant again at his death. So after Alexander died, his generals said, right, well, if it's a boy, he'll become joint king with, as I mentioned earlier, Aridaeus. And he was Alexander IV. He was named afterwards. However, the empire quickly fell apart after Alexander died, as his generals fought each other for it. So after everything had resolved itself, a man called Antigonus was the king of Macedonia, replacing Cassander, who held it for a while. A man called a general, one of Alexander's generals, Antigonus wasn't, he was the next generation, I think. Lysimachus, who fought alongside Alexander, was in charge of Thrace. Ptolemy was in charge of Egypt, and another one of Alexander's commanders, not a senior man, but he became senior over the course of the battle for the empire, Seleucus. He controlled Babylonia and all the lands through to India, until an Indian king, Chandragupta, I hope I've said his name correctly, he was the next big king of India, and he took the Indian portion of Seleucus's empire. Anyway, there's a very quick rundown off the top of my head of Alexander's life and a bit afterwards. Apologies for any mistakes. If anyone wants to correct me in the comments, yeah, you're more than welcome to let me know anything I got wrong. Otherwise, for Liz, thank you so much for a wonderful day on Sunday, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.